Hi everyone, and welcome to our next lesson here, lesson number 3 in our connecting principles, which is connecting goes beyond words. You want to have your worksheets on lesson number 3 ready, along with your pen and your pencil and possibly a highlighter this time, because we're going to be going through quite a bit of information. But the connecting principle here that we're going to talk about is connecting goes beyond words. Basically, it's a lot more than what we just say from our mouths. First paragraph in your notes that we're going to go through, this is a really important paragraph. I think it's going to set the foundation and the tone for what we're going to be talking a little bit about in our next few minutes together. When many people try to communicate with others, this is in your notes, they believe the message is all that matters. But the reality is that communication goes way beyond words. In an important UCLA study, this professor had discovered that, now this is important, go ahead and you might want to underline this, had discovered that face-to-face communications can be broken down into 3 components: words, tone of voice, and body language. What may come as a surprise is that in most situations, what people see us do and the tone we use can far outweigh any words we say while communicating. In situations where feeling and attitudes are being communicated, now here we go, this is something you want to jot down here. What we say accounts for only 7% of what is believed. The way we say it accounts for only 38%. And what others see accounts for 55%. And this is visual. This is what people see in us. Apparently accounts for more than what we say or even the way we say it. It's what others see. So I want to break this down a little bit more for you, because this is going to be a lot to go through, and we need to really wrap our minds around this concept of the idea that, well, in your notes, amazingly, more than 90% of the impression we often convey has nothing to do with what we actually say. It has nothing to do with what the words that are coming out of our mouths are. It's what others see in us. So we need to take a few moments to try to wrap ourselves around this. In your notes here, the 3 components of communication are this. Number 1, thought, which is something that we know. Next is emotion, something that we feel. And action, which is something that we do. Now, I believe that these 3 components are essential to connect as well, and failing to include any one of the 3, and there will be a disconnection from people and a breakdown in your communication. More specifically, here's how I think the breakdown would occur. If I try to communicate something I know, but I do not feel, my communication is dispassionate. So we know it, but we just don't feel it, so there's a lack of passion. If I try to communicate something I know but do not do, my communication is theoretical. Perhaps some of us, like teachers and educators, are in a position where we teach things in a classroom, but when we leave the classroom, most of what we teach stays there, but we don't really do what we teach. That becomes theory. Next, if I try to communicate something I feel, but I do not know, my communication is unfounded. If I try to communicate something I feel but do not do, my communication becomes hypocritical. If I try to communicate something I do but do not know, my communication is presumptuous. And lastly, if I try to communicate something I do but I do not feel, my communication is mechanical. So what we have to do here is take these 3 things, the thought, the action, the emotion, the 3 essentials, the 3 components of communication. We have to take all 3 of these and make them congruent with one another. And when we do that, that is when connecting will go way beyond what we say. It's more than just verbal. It shows that there's a higher level of connection than just communicating with people. So what we need to do is we need to kind of dive into these three things. With action, we'll talk about that first. Action in your notes here, something we do. It's connecting visually what people are seeing in us. Action is something that we do. It's connecting on a visual level. Henry Ward Beecher said that there are persons so radiant, so genial, so kind, so pleasure-bearing, that you instinctively feel good in their presence, that they do you good, whose coming into a room is like bringing a lamp in there. You know those kind of people, don't you? The ones that just walk into a room and before they say anything, they just light up the room. It's like they brought in a lamp. They don't have to say a word. It's not what they say. It's what they bring. It's what they bring to the table. It's their action. It's a lot more than just words. As a matter of fact, you probably know the other kind too. The ones that when they walk in the room, they're not bringing a candle, are they? They're just trying to blow your candle out. Those are the people that you want to go into the next room and not be in the same room with, right? So, to connect with people visually, we need to do these three things. First, we need to expand our range of expression. You know, a lot of people say, well, I'm a really expressive person. I'm an Italian. I express myself. You can always express yourself better. No one does it perfectly. See, the more you express yourself, the more effective you will be. I promise you that one. Find your favorite speaker. Maybe it's a politician or a religious figure. Watch them on TV. Turn on the TV. Maybe press mute and watch them for 30 minutes muted. And I guarantee you this, 100% of the time, you will get what they are talking about when the TV's on mute. When you're not hearing the verbal, when you're not hearing the words, you will get, because they're so great at expressing themselves verbally, or visually, that you automatically understand them. They have an expression about them. So smile more, or have a sense of sadness on your face when it's an appropriate time. You know, open your arms a little bigger, or maybe close your body and put your hand on their shoulder when something's going on. The situation will always detail and dictate an expression. Expand that range. Practice that on a daily basis. That will help you to be more visual when you're connecting with people. Number 2, this is in your notes, move with a sense of purpose. So when you move, do it in a way that provides security and provides confidence in people around you. Recently, I hired and brought on a manager here for a certain department in the bookstore, and I was interviewing several different people, and I noticed that as I was walking out to shake their hand and introduce the place to them and maybe give them a quick look at the place, they were always, most of them were kind of behind me or not really beside me. I always had to stop and wait and let them catch up, or stop and turn around and make sure everything was okay. It almost felt like I was walking alone. But there was one person that was always next to me, and oddly enough, he was the one that we hired, because when he moved with a sense of purpose. He showed that he was confident. He showed that he was secure. He showed he could do the job well just by how he moved. So express yourself visually and move with a sense of purpose. And next, to connect with people visually, maintain an open posture. You know, at all times when we're talking, we need to stay open with people. Sometimes we like to hide behind a phone, or sometimes we may like to hide behind a desk, and the other person being over there, and I'm right here, and there's a boundary there. And listen, unless you're a fugitive running from the law, you don't need to hide from people. One of my mentors that mentors me, his name is Pastor Ken Bear. Wonderful, wonderful man. I love him. Super insightful. He has a desk in his office. But when I go to his office, he doesn't hide behind it. As a matter of fact, we go off to another corner of the room, and he has 2 chairs, really comfortable chairs set up there with an end table between the two. And it's a great environment to have a man-to-man conversation, because he has made the environment open. He's created that posture in himself and in his environment, and because of that, we're able to connect on a better level. So to connect with people visually, expand your range of expression, move with a sense of purpose, and maintain an open posture with people. Moving on in your notes, the next thing is thought. Thought is something that we know. It's connecting intellectually with people. It's what people understand. This is where the aha moment comes from, where they understand you. This is the aha moment now. Any message that you try to convey to others must always contain a piece of you. Knowledge must be experiential. Knowledge must always be experiential. You might want to check that off or put a highlight on that. It comes from experience. Nothing can happen through you until it happens in you. Experience is not only a good teacher for yourself, but it's also a great persuader in other people. So we need to use our thoughts, use our experiences to allow us to connect on an intellectual level with other people. But that usually only comes from our past experiences, our past failures, and our past successes. The ability to connect with thought is more than just mental words. And persuasion happens when there is an experience that comes alongside of it. So when you want to connect with people in thought, make sure that you have experience so that you can persuade them next to you. And the last thing here we want to talk about is emotion. Emotion is something that we feel, isn't it? It's connecting emotionally. It's what people feel. John Cotter, who's an author, recently wrote a book titled A Sense of Urgency. In it he states, for centuries, we have heard the expression, great leaders win over the hearts and the minds of others. Note that he does not say that great leaders win over just the minds of others, nor does he say they win over others' minds and hearts. Now this is where you want to take note, maybe get your highlighter again out here. This is important. The heart comes first. And if we desire to be good communicators and good connectors in our businesses, in our personal lives, in our family lives, wherever we're at, in our profession, we always have to keep that in mind. The heart comes first. If you want to win over another person, first win his heart, and the rest of him is likely to follow. People may hear your words, and this is in your notes, but they feel your attitude. Remember the past lesson when we talked about attitude, and we talked about that how connecting is a lot more. It's an attitude. It's a being about you. They feel that. It's just not what you say. It's something that they feel. People will not always remember what you said. They will not always remember what you did. But in the end, they will always remember how you made them feel. I can't count how many times I gave advice to people. How many times people asked my opinion and I shared it with them, and how many times those people never followed a single word of what I had to say. Have you ever had that happen to you, as a matter of fact, when especially if you're in an area where you're serving or you're just trying to help, but they just don't listen to you? It's like, why even bother talking to them? You know the answer. I know the answers. I always know the answers, right? Because we're always right. But they just don't listen. They don't remember. Because in the end, they always remember how you make them feel. Now here's the thing, if you make them feel a certain way and they connect with you, then they'll start looking at your experiences. You'll start to persuade them and they'll start remembering what you say. Got to do it backwards there. The key concept to end here is the more you do to go beyond words, the greater the chance you will connect with people. It starts with a friendship first. It starts with people seeing who you are, seeing the inside of you. They see emotion, they see thought, they see action. You need to become one of those people that when you walk in a room without even saying anything, you just brighten up the day. Because 90% of connecting and communicating is exactly that. And the other 10% is only the words that are coming out of your mouth. You may not know a thing, but if you can connect with them and get that 90% under control, guarantee you your leadership in the area of connection will go from here to here. Can't wait to see you at the next mastermind group. Take care now. Bye-bye.